Have you ever heard the sound of the world before it wakes up? Have you ever stood at your window at 4:30 in the morning when the streets are silent, the stars are still out, and the air is so still and fresh you feel like you're the only person in the universe? Most people haven't. Most people are deep in a comfortable, dream-filled sleep. They are wrapped in the warm blanket of a world that doesn't require them to be anything. That was me for a long time. I was a professional sleeper-inner. The snooze button on my alarm was my best friend, the first and most important relationship of my day. But then I discovered a secret so powerful, so transformative that it didn't just change my mornings, it changed who I was. Hi everyone, my name is Neha, and welcome to the channel. The place where stories are not just told, they stay with you and quietly change the way you think. If you love meaningful stories with powerful life lessons, then you are in the right place. Now sit back, relax, and let me tell you a story about a man who is drowning in his own potential and the single, terrifyingly simple change that pulled him from the depths. His name was Alex, and he was a master of tomorrow. This was a phrase he had perfected over the years. I'll start that project tomorrow. I'll go to the gym tomorrow. I'll wake up early tomorrow. Tomorrow was this magical, mythical place where all his best intentions lived. In the real world, in the today, Alex was a chronic underachiever. His desk was a disaster zone of empty coffee cups and forgotten ideas. His to-do list was a sprawling epic of tasks he'd started and abandoned. Alex was an artist, a painter, but he hadn't finished a painting in months. He had all the talent in the world, everyone told him so. But talent, he was learning, was a terrible thing to waste. It was like having a Ferrari in your garage and only ever driving it to the end of the driveway to get the mail. He had the engine, but he'd lost the keys. The key he was starting to suspect was discipline. One evening, after another day of watching videos and scrolling through social media, he stumbled upon a simple quote. It wasn't profound or philosophical. It was just, when the day. He scoffed at first. He was a night owl, a creature of the late hours. The morning was an enemy, a cruel interruption of his natural rhythm. But the quote, like a mosquito buzzing in his ear, wouldn't leave him alone. When the day. Frustrated with himself, with his lack of progress, he decided to try an experiment. He had tried everything else, from complicated time management systems to expensive apps. He had nothing to lose, except maybe a few hours of sleep. He set his alarm for 5 a.m. I'm going to do this, he told himself, a tremor of fear in his voice. What if he didn't have it in him? What if the discipline he craved was simply not part of his DNA? The fear of his own failure was almost as big as the fear of his unrealized potential. The next morning, the alarm went off. It was a jarring, awful sound in the dark silence of his room. His first instinct, his most primal and powerful instinct, was to reach out, silence it, and roll over. The bed was a warm, forgiving sanctuary. The world outside was cold and demanding. But then he remembered the quote. Winning the morning felt like getting up to fight a battle he wasn't sure he could win. 1 minute, he told himself. I'll just get up, go to the kitchen, drink a glass of water, and if I still want to go back to bed, I will. It was a trick, a psychological loophole. The hardest part of any new habit, he'd heard, is the very beginning. The inertia. The weight of staying still is so much heavier than the force required to get moving. He swung his legs out of bed. The cold floor was a shock to his system. He stumbled to the kitchen, drank his water, and stood there, blinking in the half-light. For a moment, he thought about going back. Then he decided to see what the fuss was about. He walked to the living room and sat by the window. The world, it turned out, was beautiful at 5 a.m. The sky was a deep, endless blue bleeding into a soft orange. The only sounds were the distant hum of a city starting to stir and the birds beginning their morning chorus. He sat there, not doing anything, just watching. And for the first time in a long time, his mind was completely quiet. There were no notifications, no demands, no distractions. It was just him and the silence. This wasn't a feeling of productivity. It was a feeling of peace. He did this for a few days, just waking up and sitting. Then he decided to use the time. He had always wanted to write, but never had the time. So he started writing. For the first hour of his day, with his coffee in hand and the quiet world as his backdrop, he wrote. He didn't write for anyone but himself. He didn't write to be published or to be perfect. He just wrote to create. He realized that the secret wasn't that he was suddenly a morning person. It wasn't that he had found some hidden well of energy. The secret was that he had found an uninterrupted hour of his own life. It was an hour where he wasn't a brother, a friend, an employee, or an artist who was failing to produce. He was just a human being, creating something. The discipline wasn't just about getting up, it was about protecting that space. For the first week, it was a struggle. There were mornings he wanted to throw his alarm clock against the wall. There were mornings he cried from sheer exhaustion. But the feeling of having already done something meaningful before 7 a.m. was an addictive drug. It was a powerful antidote to the self-loathing that had been his constant companion. It wasn't long before this new discipline began to spread. The feeling of accomplishment from writing each morning gave him the momentum to tackle other challenges. He started clearing his desk. He started organizing his emails. The energy was compounding. And then, he did something he hadn't done in years. He walked into his studio, picked up his paintbrush, and started to paint. He didn't think about the masterpiece he wasn't creating. He just painted. The colors began to flow. The ideas that had been dormant started to blossom. The Ferrari was finally out of the garage. He had discovered a profound truth that week. Self-discipline is not a punishment. It is not a restriction. It is the ultimate form of self-care. When you are undisciplined, you are a victim of your impulses, a puppet pulled by every fleeting desire. When you are disciplined, you become the master of your own fate. You build a life you control, instead of letting life control you. For many, mornings are a time of anxiety. The world's demands are fast and furious as soon as you wake up. Emails, deadlines, problems, news alerts. It's a tidal wave of anxiety before you even have your coffee. This early morning hour was a fortress against the noise. It became his sanctuary, the one place where he could think clearly and set his own priorities. Weeks turned into months. Alex started to see his old self as a stranger, a person who was happy to float along, just existing. The new Alex had a plan. He had direction. He had hope. It wasn't about being a morning person. It was about becoming a purposeful person. It was about proving to himself every single day that he was the kind of person who could do hard things. And with each difficult thing he did, he became a little bit stronger. The small decision to wake up an hour earlier didn't just change his schedule. It changed his identity. He stopped seeing himself as a person who wants to be an artist and started seeing himself as a person who is an artist. He had earned the identity. So, what did he learn? He learned that the difference between a dream and a reality isn't talent, luck, or even intelligence. The difference is discipline. It's the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. It is the quiet, consistent, daily commitment to being just a little bit better than you were yesterday. Your night will always be a promise of what you can do. Your morning is the demonstration of what you will actually do. The night is for dreaming, but the morning is for doing. To achieve something, you must be willing to give up something else. He gave up the comfort of his warm bed and the blur of his easy, directionless nights. In exchange, he got his life back. He now understands that every sunrise is a fresh chance, not just to start a new day, but to start a new version of yourself. It's an opportunity to build momentum and claim your time before the world has a chance to take it away. And it all starts with one decision. The decision to win your morning. The story of Alex is a reminder that the power to change your life is not some distant, abstract concept. It's in the simple, mundane choices we make every day. It's in the hand that reaches for the snooze button or the hand that swings your feet onto the floor. Choose right, and you choose a better life. I hope you enjoyed this journey with Alex. And I hope you can find your own quiet hour, your own secret, and unlock the discipline that lives inside of you. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might be struggling to find their own morning light. Share this video on your story or with a friend who needs to hear this. And let me know in the comments below, what is one small thing you can do tomorrow morning to win your day? Your dream begins not when you fall asleep, But when you decide to wake up, subscribe to the channel, turn on that notification bell, and let's keep discovering the stories that change our lives together. Until next time, be the author of your own life.
Goodbye.